Hey folks, Taco here, TacoBonsai, doing a quick one. Oh, that's kind of in the way. Sorry, so I use a sort of not soul scoop, Got all my tools here in front of me, off camera, of course, because I'm going to repot this one into this. Now, this is one of the ones I bought. Of course, the plant I had in it didn't make it. One of the many casualties. But this one, so I'm using these to kind of weigh it down and also cover up the surface roots, has been growing like crazy, which is good. But it is also a point where it's growing out the side of and too far out the side of the container that the container it's in is in. So I actually have it inside this guy, which I love. I think it's great. I think it's perfect, fantastic, but it needs a little more space. So this will be a good way to get it more space and work on radial roots. Whatever. This thing's very lush. It's not worried about much. It will also need to be pruned, so we will do that after. Yeah, let's do it first, actually. Since we're right here, let's think about it a little bit. So you are currently looking at the front. I'm very pleased with the front. However, I think it's too tall. I've got too many straight sections. So I'm going to take off my biggest straight section right here. A little closer to a classic form anyways. So it comes up, zigzags, and now my new leader is here. It's going straight up. New branch coming forward, so I'll go ahead and just encourage that branch. Now, that's kind of the decision for height, which is good. Well, not height so much as the leader. I do want to have a lot more height in this. So, looking at it, got this one coming off to the front, this one coming off to the back, this one coming off to the side. I do like this one. I'm going to keep it cascading. I'll do that for it and take the tip off. 2 leaves there, it's ready. This one, again, it's kind of cascading, so I'm going to. Man, that's a tough decision. This little branch that's way down low, and I think that's what I want to go with. So now, this is my new branch leader. It's super low, super tight in, but it's going to be really good movement. Over here on the back, ooh, might just be too thick. So I got this little branch here, a little branch out back. I do not want this one because it's growing in the wrong direction. Cleans it up a little. You can see a little branch here. But this is just a lot. So I think I'm going to do it completely off. I know everybody, but they're not in the perfect spots, but I'm not upset about this. This one's really good, actually. Didn't expect it. And this will be my new leader. So I got this one coming up and towards, and that'll give me a lot of forgiveness. Now, I would love to straighten this up a little bit, but we'll see what we get into once we got these roots uncovered. So, take this out of the way for now. It's already got a base layer in it. And, Carnage Cam has just started, but it's basically the tree. Nice thing about these, though, as long as they have light, they grow forever. This thing grows like a weed. As you can tell by the roots, doesn't mind growing too much, even if I don't want it to. So I'm going to try to, what's not at the bottom right now? Either I cut the bottom roots or they rotted out. I'm not sure, but it grows pretty nicely. So I will put this to the side. It's not necessary right now. Nothing in there is really useful to me. Let me get to work on this. Use my root hook from Matt. Right here. Of course, pull my screen out. Don't need it right this moment. This thing is, it's not really worried about radial as much as I am. And I think I've got another root in here that I can cut short. I can't remember if I've got thick roots in here, but I don't want thick roots in here. So again, I'm just working in a radial pattern, trimming things down. Lots and lots of long roots. So after those, I do use the same shears for everything. So, whatever when it comes to that. Those are big, thick roots that I do not need nor want. They're probably going to get even worse if I leave them. All right. So yeah, it's doing a really good job of keeping its base not radial, using the right shape. Now is the fun part. Now I've really got to get focused in here. So now I've got to decide what needs to be done, what doesn't. Do a quick rinse. Well, yeah. First I'll take my my sole pick I left in the car. I know, why is it in the car? Doesn't matter. First do a quick brush with this, make sure I've got everything I possibly can get off. And then I will give it a little rinse. One moment for the rinse. All right, that was a nice little rinse. You got to hear but not see what I was doing there, but that's okay. All right, so when I look down below, I don't see a whole lot. I do see that it wanted to go create a big fat root going this way, but I've kind of cut that off, and now that's where a lot of that strong root growth is. So my roots aren't terrible, but these aren't really coming out radially. So this one is going to come off. This is not coming in the right direction. So that'll come all the way off. Comes a little bit again. This one, not radial, so it's going to come off. This one's really big, so I'm going to go ahead and just terminate it. Looks like it was also rotten, which is good. Cut a little closer. Not bad. Let's see here. Not easy to see what's going on. This one's okay. It's a little high, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it off. I'm going to try to move my root base down. Nothing really too high anywhere else. This one's coming around a funny angle. Let's take that off. And not a whole lot attached, so it's a good thing we did. All right. And these are just kind of coming at every angle but the angle I want them to come at, so keep working at these. And you want your roots to be radial. That's not radial, that's just a hand going this way. This one too. Take that one out. I was watching one of Nigel's videos a while back, and he's talking about how he's really careful about his roots, and it looks like he cuts off a lot, but he's very selective. And I wish I was at the level where I knew how to be as selective as he is without just cutting off a lot and worried about the health of the plant, but he does a good job. Some of these can be redirected. I'm not worried about cutting off all of them. Like this one here is going the wrong direction. Cut it off. It's not in my way. It's kind of big. It's a good one, but it's big. I've got some new roots here, which is good, of course. I want new roots. And we're getting closer, This one comes off at a funny angle, but then it ends up kind of radial, so I want to be mad at it, but I'm not. Of course, a lot of it seems like it's really low down. I probably need to cut this a little higher up. I'm going to do right now. Yeah, here we go. So this is going to be cutting off quite a bit, but it needs to be higher. I want a nice flat root base attached. No, it was not. And this thing will live with a lot less roots on it. So, well, that's not too far off. I do see one down here. You might be able to see it. Kind of snakes around a funny angle. This guy right here. Get that guy out of there. Because it doesn't need to be in there. Is it attached? It is, and it comes from over here. Weird. It comes from down below. Goes at a funny angle as well. Not as bad. Not everything's as radial as I want it to be. Like this is coming out nice. This one's okay. It's not great, but I want to leave some feeder roots on it. This one's not great, but I think I can maybe not. I think I can redirect it. Problem is that in redirecting that, I'll lose some of these. I'll leave it for now, but only because I'm going to do a little more trimming on the bottom here. As much as I love this nice fat bottom, I think I've got to do a little more, thinning out on it. Because this doesn't need to be a part of anything. Now, I'm sure this is a cutting at one point, but, it's getting closer and closer to a flat root base. I don't need to worry about cutting any more off of that because it's kind of big, the pot I'm putting into. But I'm pleased with this. It's not going to use a lot of water. It's very small, of course. I may have cut off one that was a little high, in my opinion, at the time. Didn't need to be cut off. The only other thing I would do is I'm going to start to, chip away at this still. So even though it's, not healing a lot, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little concave cut to try to get rid of some of that universe taper. Of course, I did something like that. I tore it a little bit, but it's okay. One thing that strikes me, not a lot of sap flow. So this might be somewhat dormant, or it may have just been, I caught it before it died because it may not be in the best health. But now it's got a better chance. It's going to have a lot of evaporation through here, but not a whole lot of leaf evaporation. If I can get into a environment where it can grow roots more readily, I will get really, really good health out of this plant. But I think a lot of these roots are a little too wet for too long. And of course, that's okay. It happens. I do not want that generally. I have a nice, healthy root base. So I think I might have either saved this one or it's too far and I just went too far on this. But generally it grows so readily. As you can imagine, it'll grow from a cutting. So let me move this stuff out of the way. I'll give this a rinse. We'll pot it up. All right. Here we are. Here's what it's going to go in. Lots and lots of room to grow. Now, I did find that some of this isn't perfect. But you know what? If I do this right here, it sits up straight. Not upset about that. There is no front to this pot per se. I can pick one. I don't think I have to. I think I can just choose the front of the plant, which I would call right about there. I like that as the front. We can go a little farther. There'll be some scars on there. I don't mind that. These things heal pretty nice. Now I've got to fill in all this. And I'm very pleased to say all this root mass is super, super low. So let me see if I can get myself some soil. Don't want that in there. Piece of sphagnum. That might be all I need. I'm going to go ahead and just move this around. I do like using a brush for moving around my soil once I've got it in here. It's nice and gentle, moves readily, and I don't feel like I'm shoveling it around. It turns out pretty good. So hopefully this will do good. Those roots were very red. I'll give this wet. I will give this a good watering in, but I don't know that I need to do much more to it. It grows roots very shallow, whether I want it to or not. Before I had a lot of drainage to it, and it was good. That pot it came out of had 5 drainage holes in it, for such a small pot. This one has less, but that doesn't concern me. Now, even though I'm not really pushing this through a lot of roots, I do still want to, I wanted to straighten it up a little bit, didn't I? So look at that. So I want to get this a little straighter. See, this is the time to do this. So I want to sit kind of like that. Yeah, and eventually, ooh, that's supposed to be there. Eventually, this will be a nice, respectable bonsai tree. I think a lot of the foliage will be coming this way. But, step forwards is step forwards, whether it looks like it or not. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make it step forwards. It's off center. That's okay. I can scoot it over a little more, keeping it that upright. Fingers here. Push all the sphagnum. Push all the soil back over. I don't need a lot of soil in here. I just need to cover the roots. There's a nice tree. A little more upright. Seems very extreme, all the angles I've got going on. But this, and this is the Ficus bird tabii, South African ficus. It'll grow nice. I'm not worried about it growing poorly. It'll grow real nice, if I'm not mistaken. I just have to keep it in here. I'll give it a little bit more. A little more of the moving stuff in. I want to mound it up a little bit because I think it's going to settle out quite a bit. Sphagnum. Sphagnum's not bad. I just don't need it for this particular tree. All right. Ooh. Now, it may not be that impressive in this form. I did like the other pot better, but it isn't that bad. Now, the one thing I didn't realize is I made it lean back. I don't want that. I want it to lean forward. So do a little more fiddling. And this is the time to do it. I mean, like if you're going to repot, do it right. Don't funk around with it. Make sure you repot correctly. So I'm going to tuck some soil underneath the bottom here. And again, if this thing's, any way it'll lack, see, a little more upright. The whole thing's a little more upright. That's what I wanted. It'll lack for roots. It will grow them. It'll grow them so quickly. All right, there we go. I'm not going to water this in, just in front of us here, but not bad. It's a lot more upright, which is what I wanted. Worked a little bit on that bulge, turned it up, which might be to some people's dismay. I may have hacked this one to pieces, but this one grows like a weed. It actually does. So I am going to give a bit of water in, and we'll let it rip. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for bearing with me. This is kind of a long video for not a whole lot going on, but I'm really, really happy with how much more room this has to grow and with how the trim up has gone, because I was brutal. I took all of it off. Not even all of it. Here we go. I took all of the tree off, but I think it's for the better of the tree. Cheers, y'all. Take care of yourselves.